Welcome to RoosterTV, and today we can finally say that we've got our coach back after a couple of weeks off. So Surj, welcome back.
Thanks, Tumsy. Thanks for having me, mate.
No worries, mate. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough journey for yourself over the last couple of weeks. Can you just talk us through what's transpired and how you felt?
Yeah, it's been a big couple of weeks. Obviously, family all tested sort of positive to COVID a couple of weeks ago now, and that was a pretty rough time for my wife. Kids are all good, but I felt pretty good during the whole process, and then finally got out of isolation on Friday. Couldn't wait to get down here, and about half time of the reserves game, started feeling really nauseous, and like I explained to you, it felt like I didn't have my head on my shoulders, and felt like I was going to vomit. So I toughed it out for about 20 minutes of that first quarter, and then the great Phil Smythe said, it's probably best that you go home and let the boys take over from here. So waltzed up to the box and just said, you guys are taking it from here, and went home and watched the rest of the game, and they started playing well. So it was a real credit to Reva and the players and all the staff. It was obviously really a really horrible situation, but sometimes you just got to look after yourself, and I'm really pleased as a coach that you can sort of hand the reins over to any one guy or any one player at some stage to go execute our plan, and I thought they did that to a T. Not just this week, but last weekend against Crows. I was really proud of the boys' endeavour and the way we went about our football.
Has been an interesting time because you go in as I come out, I guess, of the COVID situation, where we spend probably 6 days a week together, and then it turns into 1,000 phone calls, I guess. It was an interesting time, but as you said, like, the guys got it done on the weekend and played some great footy. So just give us your thoughts on the game. Obviously we were a bit inaccurate in front of goal in the first quarter, but over a 4-quarter effort, we're pretty positive.
Yeah, it was really positive. Even though to Central's credit, I thought their first quarter was outstanding, but I thought our first quarter was pretty good too. We could have easily kicked 6 goals, won. Their ability to defend and put some really good pressure on, forced us to miss those goals. And to their credit, they kicked some really outstanding goals. I think Hoskins' crass forward was really good. I think Darcy Fort kicks a couple of goals. One on the boundary line from 50 out was outstanding. And to their credit, I thought they played really well. But I said to Reva just before I left, be really positive with them. I felt like we were in the game and we were doing really well. We just needed to get over that hump and kick a couple of goals. And I think we kicked 7-3 7-4 in the second quarter. So once we started to get the game on our terms and feel comfortable with the way we wanted to play, we started to exploit that a little bit. And to their credit, they adapted to what happened at quarter time, and the players got to take a lot of credit for that.
And it's probably a special mention to our leaders. We obviously have a chat with them most weeks, but those guys are all standing up and playing the way that we hope they would.
100%. I think they're led by the front by a fantastic leader in Alex Spina. His last 3 weeks has been as good as any captain around the competition. He's leading from the front along with Andrew Moore, who didn't play, but he's leading away from the club, and his leadership with the guys coming on and off the bench was outstanding from what I've been told by yourself and some of the other guys. But Mitch Harvey's really stepped up, Harrison Wigg, Campbell Coombe, Aaron Young's been huge, Keenan Ramsey comes back in after a week of COVID. And those guys have, we've really challenged them this year to stand up, with a lot of guys leaving in the last off season. We've challenged those guys to step up and take their game to another level to allow some of these younger kids like Harrison Magel, Carl Finlay, Reed, Van Husted, really develop into some really nice footballers for us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's obviously opened up some opportunities for some of the younger guys, and you mentioned Magel down back, which is a bit of a positional change, but also Dyson Hilda's just growing into his role nicely, and we've had Jacob Bauer sort of just jump out of the box and kick 10 lazy goals in 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. A lot of those guys have developed really nicely. Obviously, Jacob's been a jack out of the box for us, and something we probably didn't expect. As much as we're loving it, he's really putting in the time and effort. He's improving his game. Dyson Hilda just looks like he's matured another 12 months at league level. He looks like a man playing out there, and he's controlling the game with his body size and the way he's moving really well. And a lot of the other guys have stepped up. I think Carl Finlay's been amazing the last 2 games that he's played. Harrison Magel, we moved him from the midfield because we felt like his ability to defend is really strong, and I think he's really grown in that role. But Jake Patmore's developing nicely as a halfbacker, and Frank Zeckley coming into the team. He had 25 and a couple of tackles, and he's starting to really lift his intensity. So we're really happy with how these guys are developing. And the good thing for us is our reserves guys are playing really good football, which is putting pressure on these guys to stay in the team. So that's one thing that obviously yourself and I made a real emphasis on, is making sure we build that really strong culture from our guys below to put pressure on the guys above. And so far so good, and this week's going to be obviously another challenge for us.
And before we get on to this week's game, we'll just give a quick plug to our footy holiday clinic today. The kids, the 5 to 10 year olds, were down here run superbly by our zone manager and Tommy Javor. What are your thoughts on that today?
No, I thought it was good. My boys were down here with a couple of our assistant coaches' kids, and the kids love it. You know, they got their Puma gear and all that sort of stuff. They looked really flash in it, so they went home and started having a kick of the footy in the backyard with my old man, their grandfather, and they had a really good time. And the club and especially Tommy do a great job in trying to develop these kids, because they're the bloodline and the future of the club.
And obviously now onto a big game this week against South Adelaide, who are 2-1 like ourselves. Just your thoughts on their strengths and what we need to bring to win the game this week. Well,
South are the number one contested team in the comp at the moment, something that we obviously really pride ourselves in. And our midfield group, they're having a lot of stoppages, so that's the reason why they're one of those teams. So we're going to have to match them in that space. They're led so well by Matthew Broadbent on the half-back line, along with Joey Haynes, Bryce Gibbs, Mitch O'Neill, who's been the kid that they picked up from Tasmania last year. We saw him play against us in the finals last year, and was really damaging, and I think he's averaging 35 plus in the first 3 games of the year. So we're going to have to put some time and energy into those guys. Obviously Keegan Brooksby comes back. He's one of the elite ruckmen in the competition. So we're going to have to be really on our game. They move the ball well. They play really aggressive defensively. So we're going to have to try to exploit that somehow, which we'll go through a training tonight. But it's a great challenge. They've made prelim 2 years in a row now. They're going to be hungry. We're hungry to get back into that position. They're a top 3 team, so we're going to be hunting them pretty hard this weekend.
And just on the injury front, just talk us through who you expect to have back this week.
Well, I'd like to think Andrew Moore's going to be back. He was ready to play last week, but had a little bit of back soreness, so we didn't take a risk with Maury, so I'd like to think that he's going to come back and play. Jacob Bauer unfortunately missed. He had concussion after he kicked one of his goals. He fell back on his head, so he's going to miss a week. Hopefully he'll be back next. And there might be 1 or 2 other guys who may miss through injury or just a bit of man management stuff. So generally we're not too bad. We've got a couple of guys who are only 1 or 2 weeks away. In Harry Williams, who's playing in the reserves, and Will Gowes is a couple of weeks away. So generally we're pretty healthy at this time of year, which is good. So we're just trying to build on a bit of our game style and the way we want to play at the moment. But all things really positive.
Okay, but this week's game, we've got a triple header here at Prospect Oval, our 3rd home game in a row against South Adelaide. The reserves at 10:30, league game at 1:10, and then the women play at 3:50 in what is Christy Harvey's 50th Sample W game. So Christy's been a great role model for our junior girls here. She's won 3 premierships over her journey, and we wish her and the women all the best. And to you, Surge, good luck.
Hopefully I can get through a game.
Just 4 quarters, mate. That's all we need.
Thank you.
Bye.